I've also been asked for an update on the Al-Quds demonstration. I share the very real concerns about this event felt by London's Jewish community and others across the capital. That's why I discussed the policing of this march with the Met Commissioner and wrote to her, setting out my concerns. And it's worth being clear that as Mayor, I do not have the power to ban a march or protest in London. That power lies only with the Home Secretary. However, the Met and I take a zero-tolerance approach to hate crime, including anti-Semitism. Protesters have the right to march as long as they do so within the law. I understand there was one large Hezbollah flag and one flag draped around a wheelchair user. Both were investigated and did not constitute an offence under Section 13 of the Terrorism Act, a law that is set by the government. There were also a number of small flags on sticks, a large number that had stapled on them that they were supporting political Hezbollah. This, of course, is not prescribed. It's the military wing that is. I also understand the MPS had good engagement with both groups at the march and had a dedicated Jewish officer who is well known to the community advising the command team. The Gold Commander also had language speakers monitoring all the speakers and chanting.
Assemblymember Curtin.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, for your statement, and particularly for broaching the issue of the Al-Quds Day parade, where Hezbollah flags are marched through the streets of London. The Hezbollah flag, as you probably know, has a gun, an assault rifle on the front, and it causes great distress and alarm to lots of people. You did mention the loophole that allows it to happen, in that the political wing of Hezbollah is not prescribed as a terrorist organisation, whereas the military wing is. Unlike countries like the United States, Israel, France and the Netherlands, where the whole of Hezbollah is prescribed as a terrorist organisation. Now, in the Mayor's question time last year, on the 20th of July, I did ask you about that, whether you would call for the political wing of Hezbollah to be prescribed, and you would probably need to approach Amber Rudd, the Home Secretary, to do that. And you said, no, that's not what I've committed to do. But in the light of everything that's happened this year, and what you know now is maybe more than what you knew 11 months ago after a year in the job, I want to ask you again, Mr Mayor, will you call or do anything to ask and see that the political wing of Hezbollah is proscribed as a terrorist organisation in this country? Because that will close the loophole that stops people marching through the streets of London with a flag with a gun on it.
Well, there's nothing stopping you writing to the Home Secretary.
I will, and I hope you will wish me success. But you, as the Mayor, are in a very, very powerful position. If you do this, it will be a very powerful voice to stop this, to close this loophole.
Can I suggest, Chair, that the Assembly member sends me all the letters he sent over the last year, which I'll consider, and then I'll read those letters he sent and then decide whether to do so. But I remember the representations made by Senator Dismore, Senator Bacon, and others after the march last year, and I was concerned by representations made from the community, which is why I discussed this matter with the Commissioner and wrote to her. You'll be aware, of course, being well versed with the law, that as the Home Secretary decides whether marches take place, but also whether organisations are prescribed. And once I've read your letters setting up the evidence, I'm sure I'll consider whether writing to Home Secretary is the right thing to do.
Okay. It seems I have an answer of sorts. Thank you.
Thank you. Assemblymember Dismore.
Thank you, Chair. As you know, I represent the biggest Jewish community in the country in Barnet and Camden. And there's been a lot of concern about this protest, Al-Quds demonstration, and I wrote to the police myself about it, and I attended the counter-protest and spoke at the counter-protest. I am concerned there's been a bit of mischief making by some people who've been blaming you for what happened, rather than actually reflecting that the powers actually lie with the Home Secretary. There is concern that there is a false distinction between the alleged political wing and the military wing of Hezbollah, but I simply put it this way: if there was a distinction, wouldn't it have been better if those flags, instead of displaying a Kalashnikov, display the ballot box?
I think your logic can't be argued with. But can I just say this? I mean, it's just worth us recognising the difficult job that police have. The police sought legal advice. They had people on the ground who are well versed in other languages. But the law is the law, as you'll appreciate, and you'll be aware, of course, that the Home Secretary can, if she wanted to, prescribe the political wing of Hezbollah. She doesn't need to wait for a letter from Senator Curtin or the Mayor of London. And you're right, of course, but it's worth us also remind ourselves that a lot of people, a lot of Londoners, are caused huge distress by demonstrations with flags being waved, which is questioning the existence of not just states but also people who are very concerned about families and others, and it's recognising that children and others were also in the demonstration, which also raises lots of questions.
Okay. Assembly Member Boff.
Mr. Mayor, last year you acquainted us with the problems that the police have with regard to policing these kinds of demonstrations, and it's not always very easy just to go in and snatch a person who may be displaying an illegal banner. You did, however, at the time say that the police tend to use video and subsequently will prosecute or take further action as required. Could you write to me and let me know what action was taken as a result of last year's Al-Quds March, which you undertook at the time? Could you undertake to do that?
Happy to do so, Chair.
Thank you. With regard to the questions that have already been raised with you, do you understand how difficult it is for the police to make that subtle distinction between what is the political wing and what is the military wing of an organisation that fundamentally, in its core, is a violent organisation?
Particularly, I mean, just to give you an example, that some of the flag had stapled on them the word political, and so you can appreciate the loopholes that are obviously there, but of course I do.
Do you think that your opinion would assist in the Home Secretary putting into place perhaps a redefinition of what is a banned organisation in order that the police can do their job, do a better job? And I'm sure that it's in your interest, that you want the police to be able to do a better job and have laws and definitions which assist them in doing their job.
Well, of course, Chair, if the Assembly Member wants to send me all the letters he's written, the evidence he has to the Home Secretary, I'll also consider that as well.
You will consider that, but you will write to the Home Secretary to say that this needs clarification?
I'll read all the letters you've written to the Home Secretary and consider whether that gives me the grounds to write to the Home Secretary.
I'm sorry, I'm asking about you, Mr. Mayor. What action will you take with regard to making the job of police in these demonstrations easier for our police officers?
The biggest help I can give to the police in doing their job is to get sufficient resources they need from the government. And that's what I've been doing first and foremost. The more resources they have, the better they can do their job in police in London. And that includes demonstrations, obviously, in relation to police in protests, having people to speak the language, people to take video evidence, people to seek legal advice from the CPS. I'm sure you'll join me in doing my best to give the police the resources they need to keep us safe.
There was a reply about 2 questions ago, which would have been fine if you just said, yes, I'll do that. But you seem to be avoiding saying, yes, I'll do that. So let's try and readdress it. Will you write to the Home Secretary and say that we need to clarify what is a banned and not banned organisation in order to assist policing such demonstrations in the future? Will you do that?
I'm really happy to read all the correspondence you've sent to the Home Secretary.
Will you
and then
do
decide
that,
what to do.
Mr. Mayor? Will you do that? Don't ask me what I'm doing. I'm asking what you're doing. Will you do that?
I'm really happy to read all the letters you've sent to the Home Secretary and consider whether there's evidence to make the submissions you want me to make.
Will you, Mr. Mayor, look after the interests of the Jewish population of London and write to the Home Secretary to ask for the clarification of the rules on what is a banned organisation?
I've been in close contact with the Met Police Commissioner, and one of the best ways to protect vulnerable Jewish Londoners is to get more resources for the police service. That's what I intend to do. And if you want to join me in that, it makes my life a lot easier.
I will join you when you start doing your job, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much for those answers. I'm sure Londoners will be fascinated with your lack of willingness to address this problem.
Well, can I congratulate you on that pre-written rant from you. It's appreciated.
Okay.
If you want to check, I'll show you. You show me your briefing. I'll show you mine. All right?
Okay.
We'll have a deal on that.
Okay.
Calm down. Just calm down.
No. Mayor, that's my job. Okay. We'll move on. Thank you,
Yes.
Assembly Member.
A useless answer that I've ever seen in this assembly.
Sorry, did you say something?
We will move on. The
Chair, sorry,
next. No, we are moving on. We are moving on.